I'm joined today by Pete Buttigieg. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So congrats on a huge DNC speech yesterday.
Thank you.
You had started off your speech, I think, notably pointing out the fact that most people will have seen you on Fox News, which is not something you can usually say for Democrats. Why is it so important for you to go on networks like Fox?
Well, the way I think about it is a lot of people are tuning in good faith, and I can't blame them for not embracing our message if they've literally never heard it. I don't think a lot of conservative media cover not just our perspectives, but facts that I think are very important for voters to know. I think Fox viewers deserve to know those facts, the same as viewers of any other network. And so I try to bring that in. And to the extent they're willing to have me on it, I think it's important for me to offer that up.
Well, it actually is a good bridge to what we're seeing here, because here at the DNC, we are seeing a few Republicans come up and speak for the first time. It's not usual that you would see Republicans take the stage at the Democratic National Convention. Can you speak on that, on how this new moment that we're in is really inclusive of not just Democrats, not just independents, but even some Republicans like Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan?
Yeah, I think it really reflects two things, something about the Trump campaign and something about Kamala Harris' campaign. What it tells you about the Trump campaign is how unfit he is to lead, because never before have more people who served closely with the president or belonged to the same party as that president gone on to denounce him or make clear that he has no business being in office. You know, his own chief of staff, members of his cabinet. I mean, he's not even on speaking terms with his own vice president, right? So it's that, but it's more than that. I think it also says something about us. We are calling out to independents, to Republicans, a lot of people I like to think of as future former Republicans, to make sure they feel welcome in the coalition that we're building. Maybe we won't agree on every single issue, and maybe they won't vote with us every single time, but this time, with this much on the stake, and with issues that go beyond just right or left policy issues, but really deeper character issues that are not just about the character of the candidates, but really about the character of the country, depending on what choice we make. I think it's really fitting and really encouraging to see that we've invited Republican speakers to reach out to those voters.
Do you have any examples, anecdotal as they may be, to show that you going on Fox, for example, or you being able to talk to these Republicans where they are, is having an impact?
Yeah, I do sometimes hear from somebody I know from outside of politics or a relative that they saw one of those appearances. It's not that it instantly turns a conservative Republican into a liberal Democrat, but again, saying, I never really thought about that, or I didn't know that, or I looked that up after you said, because sometimes I'll literally, on Fox I'll say literally, if you're at home, look this up, because I think that a Fox viewer might literally not know or believe that crime went down after Donald Trump got beat, or some of the realities about the economy, about job creation, about the industrial Midwest, even some of the numbers around the border and what's going on with immigration. So, again, I'm under no illusion that I sort of waltz in there and convert everybody, but I do think that that's having an impact, and sometimes I hear about it.
In terms of encroaching on what is longstanding Republican territory, can you speak on the fact that a lot of what we're seeing now feels like we're reclaiming what had long been Republican branding? I mean, to hear Democrats chanting USA,
That's right.
USA, to see Tim Walz's name on a camo hat. Can you talk about that a little bit, about kind of the realignment that we're seeing right now? Because for a long time, this branding, they've benefited from it, but they've not actually done anything to prove that they're worthy of it.
Yeah, I think there was a time when they tried to, really capture the idea of patriotism as if the flag or the bald eagle belonged to a political party, as if God belonged to a political party. And I think we're here to say, no, that's not how this works. We all believe in this country. And to me, there's kind of a thrill to hearing USA chanted, not just in a partisan conservative environment, but to hear USA chanted at the Olympics and to hear it chanted at our convention in a way that talks about the USA we want this country to be and that we aspire to live in.
One of those pieces of branding is this idea that Republicans have owned this idea of freedom. But in fact, can you speak on what the modern Republican Party's idea of freedom as it stands actually is?
Well, the way I viewed it is that, conservatives tended to just think about freedom from taxes, freedom from regulation. Certainly it's important that an overbearing government can make you unfree, but I don't think that's really the direction we've been in a long time in America for the most part. But to me, that's a very thin concept of what freedom is really about. I'm interested in freedom to live a life of your choosing, and you're not really free if you're one medical disaster away from bankruptcy. You're certainly not free if somebody else gets to tell you who to marry based on his interpretation of his own religion. And I think the destruction of Roe versus Wade and the Republican project to eliminate a woman's right to abortion access has really put an exclamation point on the struggle over freedom, because of course that, in a very literal, clear, and important sense, has made millions of Americans less free. So it gives us a chance to offer a different account of what it means to support freedom through political choice.
You know, as we see the ascendant campaign of Kamala Harris and simultaneously the flailing campaign of Donald Trump, he doesn't seem to be able to figure out how to reconstitute his campaign and kind of address the issues that were plaguing him moving forward. Do you think that he has the ability to actually fix what's wrong and move forward? Is he that undynamic? Is he that immovable that he doesn't really have any ability to kind of adapt?
I mean, we're a month in, and he still seems to be wanting to run against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
You know, weeks and weeks after Joe Biden made that selfless choice to step aside. So you can tell that they are struggling to adapt, partly because I think they literally can't conceptualize what the Harris-Walz campaign is about. I think it's very hard for Donald Trump to understand a candidacy that is not about the candidate themselves.
Yeah.
And yet Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are people who get that it's not about them, it's about you. And as long as we keep it on that turf and have this conversation be about how Americans' lives are going to be different, how the reason politicians matter is because of the effect they have on Americans, not the other way around, I think that's great territory for us to contest this campaign on. But I do think he's strategic enough to know that that's true, which is why he keeps trying to do outrageous things to have the attention come back to him, because, of course, the more we're talking about him, the less we're talking about you.
Right. Well, to that point, though, when the attention has been on him, whether it's at the National Association of Black Journalists, whether it's at his Mar-a-Lago press conference, whether it's with his Twitter space with Elon Musk, each of those moments actually resulted in another moment that didn't really redound to his benefit. I mean, denying the very ethnicity of Kamala Harris is not going to help him, especially not with people of color who his campaign ostensibly needs to reach out to if he wants to win this election. So are you of the mind that we should allow him to just keep speaking and burying himself, or should we reclaim the spotlight wherever we can?
I think it's a bit of both. I think we do need to respond to these things. How could you not when he says something so insulting to so many categories of people, pretty much all of us in some way or another. You know, you have to respond to that, but I think you have to respond to that and then quickly come back to what we think is most important to talk about, because even though it is damaging to him when he is disparaging the service of veterans and war heroes or attacking black women or any of the other things he does, I think he has calculated, possibly he's not wrong about this, that it would be even worse for him if we were talking about his plans and policies, his tax cuts for the wealthy, his actions to eliminate a woman's right to choose, his Project 2025 vision of eliminating the Department of Education, and a whole bunch of other wildly unpopular things. Matter of fact, I think it's very significant that the most damaging scandal Donald Trump has faced so far all year is simply the publication of his own policy manual in Project 2025.
Yeah. I would be remiss not to ask you, while we are at the DNC with a max capacity arena here, what your thoughts are about the fact that Donald Trump seems to be having a little bit of trouble these days beefing up his crowd sizes at his rallies. All the while we are seeing full arenas, full auditoriums, full airport hangars for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
You know, you can tell it's driving him nuts, and I think it's a show of momentum. And I also think, the only thing he's going to achieve by making weird claims, for example, that these crowds aren't real, when they're obviously very, very obviously real.
That's exactly what he would say. You would say.
Yeah, that is true. But the only thing he's going to achieve is to draw more attention to how real these crowds are, in the same way that the only thing they achieve by attacking Tim Walz's military service is they remind everybody about Tim Walz's military service. Yeah. So I do think it's something that continues to evolve. Now, last time I saw the vice president a couple of days ago, she reminded me, and she's reminding our whole party, we have to remember that this is an underdog effort. We can't let it go to our heads that we have this incredible momentum. But the momentum is real. You can feel it in this hall, and we've got to bottle this up and take it with us for the next 11 weeks, all the way to Election Day.
Well, which brings me to my last question here, and that is, what is your warning here with 75 days to go, even amid a campaign that is so ascendant, that in which there's so much energy and enthusiasm, to to not basically take it for granted as we head toward November?
Yeah, this is a game of inches, and we are going to have to earn every inch of ground, every vote, every precinct, every county. It's just the nature of our moment that this election will be close no matter what. And so I'm thrilled by the momentum, I'm thrilled by the energy, I'm thrilled by the crowds, but none of that means that we can spare any effort to do everything it takes so that we have a good result in November.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. We will end off with a clip from your speech at the DNC.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Democrats. Thank you, Chicago. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself saying. I'm Pete Buttigieg, and you might recognize me from Fox News.